Cześć. Hi, good morning. Uh, Nice to meet you. I'm so glad that you made it early in the morning to show up on the first talk of this event. So I'm looking forward. Just give me a second. So my hands are fully occupied with these devices, so hopefully I'll be able to today to show you my presentation, which is focused on UX and on our experience which we managed to gain during designing the onboarding experience for our mobile game called Seaport. So just as a short introduction, Pixel Federation, for those of you guys who are not aware of our company, we are the largest game dev company in Slovakia, based in Bratislava, so not that far away, only 40 minutes flight from Vienna. And me personally, I work there as a UX game designer. I've been there for almost 6.5 years. And I've been working on Seaport from day zero, basically. I've been there as lead game designer, and today I'll be trying to share with you guys our story, our case study, our experience, like what we did. So I know that you guys right now can see the name of the talk is a little bit different, using data to design onboarding, but don't you worry, the content is still the same. And this is basically what the UX, what the game design process, game development is about, yeah? Iterating, changing, and improving. So even you can see it here. I got a different name of the talk. So let's get into it, and I'll be starting with a funnel. Yes, so I've been informed that maybe not all of you guys are really deep in the game development, so let's start with the basics and then we'll go straight into the details. So why do I show here a funnel? The thing is that if you're a mobile developer or game developer, and as you guys probably heard about free-to-play, and free-to-play, it's not the type of the game, but it's more of a business model which is applied on a game. And with this being said, it means that funnel is something that is mentioned a lot, and we'll be working with a different type of funnel today. And what I'm trying to show you right now is that funnel could be perceived as something like this. Because if you have a free-to-play game, or you're trying to work with this business model, it works like this. Basically, you buy a lot of players, you try to acquire them through marketing, viral marketing, whatever. There are so many channels how you can get your new player game. Then there is a retention. Basically, if your game is fun, they will stay there. And once they find value and they are having a good time, then they will monetize. And the fact is that actually it looks like this, yeah. So it's and I'm still like really generous with these numbers. So you as a game designer, what you can do, it's a whole process. Everything is interconnected. You can try to improve your monetization, yeah. But if there are not that many players playing your game, who are you trying to monetize? So maybe you can try to improve your retention. So you can try to make your game more fun, yeah, in general. And then of course you can try to improve your acquisition. But basically you want to spend your money, not just money, but basically you want to spend your activities, your acquisition activities. You want to have them effective. So one of those activities you can do is basically try to improve retention, and that's what we as game designers try to do. Yeah, we want to have fun games, and sometimes when we think our games are fun, it's not enough, because maybe our fun is not well understood. So today I'll be trying to focus on the first-time user experience, because those are the first minutes of your new player, how he interacts with your game, and maybe even though your game is super fun, he does not understand what is happening. And yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, basically, well, you came on, you showed up on this talk, and this is definitely not something that should be a takeaway of this talk. Yeah, so do not try this at home. In our case, we were without any of this type of classic tutorials for we were like that for almost 2.5 years. So we had no tutorial, that type of tutorial that you are all familiar with. Yeah, like you turn on the game and there is some kind of guide who is kind of like holding your hand and is trying to help you, show you a little bit around, like this is the shop. Maybe this is how you shoot inside the game. It does not apply only to freemium. It applies to any type of game. You need to explain it. to your audience, to your new players. So basically, well, that was our original plan. We released the game because the game was originally released on Facebook platform. It's been a couple years ago, and the original plan was that we released the game. A couple of months before release, it looked like this, and I think it was late August, and we were supposed to launch game in early November. So we had still a lot of work that needed to be done, and we knew that we wouldn't be able to make it on time. So we decided to release the game without any tutorial. I will repeat it again. Do not try it at home. It's definitely not recommended. And the plan was, once we release the game, we start gathering data. But from day one, we start working on developing that tutorial, as you are all familiar with, yeah, the guide. And eventually, we managed to get this kind of guide inside our game. And I'll get to him later on. But the thing is, we were with this particular guy, he got there after like 2.5 years, and game was already on Facebook and it's been played. Why did this happen? Well, the thing is that once we released the game on Facebook, the KPIs, basically the numbers, retention, monetization, it was doing pretty fine. So there were so many different problems we needed to fix. I don't know, slow loading, lack of content, maybe not so good monetization. So once you start making a game, it's never a problem about creativity. Like, oh, I'm sitting in my studio, I have no more ideas what to implement into the game. Usually opposite is the case, that you don't know what should be implemented first, and as a producer or as a whole small indie studio, whoever, you are just trying to find what should be the recipe. Like what has the highest priority. It's not like looking for new ideas. Usually it's about like managing your existing ideas and trying to prioritize them. And in our case, what happened that somehow, some way, we ended up that tutorial wasn't such a big issue in that time. So what happened? Why we suddenly realized, okay, we need to have this guided tutorial finally. So the thing is that we were going for mobile release, which was supposed to happen. It was 2018 at the beginning of the year, and we knew that if we want to go on a mobile, we cannot afford to release a game on a global scale without any tutorial. So we knew that we will need to have a tutorial, but it will take us a lot of time, So we soft launched the game basically in autumn, in September, October. I'm not sure right now, but it's not important for today's talk. And as I said, we released the game on the mobile, soft launched, without tutorial. And we knew by the time we released it global, so we had like a couple of months, we knew that we need to have it. So we started working on this guy, and we knew that it will take a lot of time. There was a long sale ahead of us. So we started thinking maybe we can improve it somehow differently. Maybe we can improve something which is already existing in the game, and thanks to those activities we can improve our retention, our early experience. So we knew that there was a long sale ahead of us, pun intended, of course, since we're talking about Seaport, and we focus on something else. So we started collecting insights. Our game was live, and basically I showed you a funnel, and this is basically a funnel as well, as you can see here. I'll go here a little bit. And what you can see here is that basically these are the events which are collected from the first session of the new players. And we get a bunch of different events which kind of try to tell you what is happening in the game. So I think even, laser works amazing. So for example, here you can see like this is the amount of players which are registered. So yeah, this is basically the amount of players we got, and only 69, so basically around like less than 70% did something in the game. So basically we lost around like 30% of the players before they actually got into the game. And there could be many issues. So you can see here, where's my laser? So here's a huge gap. So we know, okay, this is an issue. Maybe we can fix it somehow, some way. But as a game designers, yeah, we cannot do that much with this type of problem. So we progressed a little bit further. Yeah, this is the same. This is the first action you have to and you can do in the game to build the dogs. There's a gap once again, and you can see there are so many gaps which you can try to improve. So based on those data, we started identifying problems. And what we found out is that only 56% of those players which registered got to this step where they had the chance to buy the ship. But as I said, the thing is that maybe a lot of players didn't even made it through the loading or whatever. So basically this was the insight for our devs, that maybe we can improve loading times or try to look for some kind of bugs, whatever. But for us, this was really interesting, because even if those players managed to buy the ship, they still did not dispatch it to set it on the sale, which is kind of a problem, because if your game is about ships and player does not send a ship, what kind of experience does he have? And that's the thing, that sometimes you as a game developer and as a game designer especially, you are developing the game. There's a really dangerous pitfall that you start from after a couple of months, weeks, you start developing the game just for yourself. You do not think about your players, and you think, okay, so he loads up the game, it looks like this, and then he does that and that and that, and the reality is totally different, as you can see here. So not a lot of players that, got to the basic core loop activity of our game. Imagine like playing a Counter-Strike and only 60% of players manage to shoot from the weapon. What kind of experience do they have? So moving on, we got a couple of problems, and well, what we try to do is to fix those bottlenecks. So as I said, the problem is that a lot of players do not buy the ship, but for us as game designers, the real problem is that if the players, they buy the ship, they still do not use them. So this is basically the main area of today's talk. I'm going to show you what kind of easy, simple improvements you can do in order to basically improve that first-time user experience, make it less problematic, and maybe easier to process. Because once again, it depends on your audience, if they have experience with the games. So yeah, today's takeaway, just after like a couple of minutes, and we're talking about today's takeaway, which is quite long, so let's skip it, we'll make it shorter. Tutorial is only one of the tools that player can to improve onboarding experience, because usually that's another issue, that if you're a game developer, you sometimes focus all your efforts to designing that tutorial, but the thing is that, yeah, players, they are able to click from point A to B to C because the guy tells you, now click here, and now click here, and now try to shoot that, I don't know, shoot that window. Now try to open the door. It's not that difficult, but so if you design your tutorial this way, and basically player cannot do many other stuff inside your game, in that case, yeah, you can take this type of data and it will be fine, because everybody can go from point A to B because there are no other places to get lost. The thing is that the data will look fine, and the problem will be maybe the retention will start dropping eventually over the couple of days. Why does it happen? Because they do not have the understanding of the game, actually. Suddenly the tutorial stops, and okay, what do I do now? I don't know, because suddenly there is there isn't that guiding hand which is trying to drag you from point A to B, and you are lost. So if you underestimate your basically whole onboarding experience and you focus only on tutorial, it will show up later on, and maybe it will be even more problematic to identify the real problem. So, but as you can see, we had no tutorial, we had data, so we already managed to identify a couple of problems. So takeaway is hopefully clear, and this is the initial experience. So as a player, yeah, this is basically how it looks. Not exactly, I just like, this is the detail, but once the player taps the ship, it looks like this. For us, we're working on a project for 2 years already. We've been working on it for 2 years. It's pretty clear. Yes, you just like click on the map, and then you get a chance to dispatch this, to set the ship on the sail. But, and yeah, no problem for us. I mean, like what could go wrong possibly? So kind of obvious, yeah. But we try to verify that understanding of those mechanics, and obviously it wasn't so clear, so maybe there are some things that could be improved, and now I'll show you a couple of steps which you can do, or what we improved, and maybe now you can start thinking about how you can apply to your project, or in the future, what kind of project can show up. Well, we try to improve clarity, so maybe the icon is not kind of showing what you can do, it's not so obvious, so maybe we can change the icon. And we change the icon, so simple, yes. But maybe, you know, maybe this icon won't be so good. So it wasn't like, yeah, this icon is problematic, we want to change it, and we tell our artist, like, let's make a new icon, and he will give us a new icon, and fingers crossed, hopefully it works well. What we did instead, it's the UX method, or user research method, icon labeling, and it's the qualitative data. What we did instead of just like putting a new icon, we ran a test, because otherwise, you know, we could have a nice discussion, we can argue who is right, and I'm an art director, don't tell me what to do, and I'll be so angry because, I don't know, he's so artistic, and I think that icon lacks functionality. So what we did instead, that our artist made 4 different icons, which should represent the set sail feature, and then we designed the survey, which we ran amongst our players, or not our existing players, but the other players. And basically, the question was that, here's the icon, what do you think, what is the representation? If you're in a game, what this icon does? And just tell us. And based on this survey, we found that this was the winner. This is basically how you can set it up really easily. It's been done in 2 days. Guys, one disclaimer. I'll be sharing this talk. Actually, it's shared on my LinkedIn profile already. So there are a lot of details. So if you're interested, you can study a little bit more later on. So, but long story short, this icon was outperforming the other one. So we changed the icon. Yeah. So now we're better. Maybe we just managed to fix that, but maybe it's not enough. So what we did is that we started showing dynamic tooltips. It was a really like a small mini mechanic, which was applied to the various stages, various parts of the game, and basically it's the simple rule: if you want your player to do something, tell him. So since we do not have the on the mobile, you don't have the luxury of those tooltips. You know, mouse over, classic solution. For me, it's kind of lazy solution. Usually, if you're developing, especially PC game, you have a trouble trying to, you know, show something, and then there's the solution. Oh, there will be a tooltip. He will show. He will see it in a tooltip. No, it's not true. It doesn't work like that. And for me, it's kind of lazy solution. But for us, it worked in this case because I don't know, if the new player tapped the town hall, you can see it at level 1. So we want you to obviously upgrade it. So we just show that tooltips, but as I said, those tooltips are dynamic. So the higher level players do not see those tooltips because they could be a little bit bothering for them, obviously. So now we just improved it. Yeah, step by step, 2 steps. It's starting to look a little bit different. Yeah. Oh, we got rid of this function because this function allowed the player to send the ship to the docks. Because if you got a lot of ships, you got a limited amount of ships you can use inside your fleet. So sometimes you manage your ships, you try to, you know, dock your ships because you don't need to use it anymore. If you're a new player and this is the first icon you click, you got a problem because you did not send your ship. Instead, you send it to the docks, and you get no idea what the hell just happened. So we made a new game designer's rule: if you have in total less ships than the actual fleet size, you don't have this feature. So as you can see, 3 steps already better. So we got rid of that. So as you can see, we got 1 improved button. And there are still 2 buttons, so can we get rid of this button somehow, some way? Well, developers, they do not like this kind of hacks and cheesy solutions that, in this case, try to hide this button because of that and that. So we, as a game designer, started thinking, maybe can we improve it somehow differently? How can we get rid of this function? Well, for those of you who do not know, and it's not that obvious, but it's the upgrade function. So we got rid of it as well, and we did it with changing the ship. So we had Santa Maria, 1-star ship, which could be improved 4 times, and the new ship is suddenly Legrace, Legazze. So now we get only one function. The ship is already changed. It's better. You can buy only one ship. So because the previous Santa Maria could be bought already 2 times. So once again, we had some kind of like places where player can get lost or he can do something that we don't want him to do. So basically, what we did with those simple steps like this, as you can see, this is the new ship. Basically, the new experience redesigned, and this was the previous experience. So maybe something could happen. Maybe what is the actual difference? And basically, yes, we're done. We are ready for sale. Not yet, because sometimes as a game developers, game designers, as I said, I'm repeating myself, but we're trying to achieve realism, yeah, or some kind of, we're aiming for some kind of experience. And in our case, it was that once you buy a ship, the ship arrives to your port because, you bought it somewhere and it should arrive. But in reality, it took around like 30 seconds to get from the side of the screen to the middle of your port to the basically docking position where it kind of waits idle for your action. And it took like 30 seconds, and that's a lot. And basically that was the difference if you managed to dispatch your ship or did not if you do not dispatch the ship. So we got rid of that. The new rule was that if that position is empty, just drop the ship there. Why? Because if you close the shop, it's already waiting for you. And now we're ready. So previous experience, 69%. That's not so well. And this is the result, 85%. With only those 5 small steps we implemented, and it's been done in really short amount of time. And in the meantime, we've been working on that guided tutorial. Yeah. So this is basically amazing, and you guys can do it in your game as well, because sometimes you consider your things as as a final, that they are great and they cannot be improved, but usually opposite is true, and especially when you guys are gaining new experience, you're getting better, and basically it's always the case that if you see your, I don't know, like 1-year-old feature or your old game, and after gaining some little bit of experience, you check your game and you say, oh, it's so bad, and that is great, because it means that you are improving, and that means that even your games will be improved. You cannot improve your games if you don't improve yourself. So it's really important to, from time to time, to basically analyze your game from the beginning and see if you can do some kind of like this kind of easy, simple solutions. So based on these results, we're really motivated to try a couple more different activities. And well, long story short, not everything worked. As I said, I don't want to go into too much detail because we don't have that much time, but you can ask me later on, we can talk about it. I'll be here for the next couple of days, so don't be shy and say hi afterwards. So yeah, I guess you are all interested in the, let me skip this. Yeah, you are probably interested about this tutorial, yeah? And everyone is waiting because we got experience with tutorials. So as I said, it's only one of the tools. Like, do not try to be only tutorial guy, because you'll be missing out a lot of opportunities for your game. So yeah, our recipe was to, it's poklad. It's a treasure. I don't know how you say it in Poland. Hopefully it's something similar, but in our language it's poklad. Yeah, so it's the original sketch which I made, and as you can see, obviously I'm not an artist. So our recipe, well, the guide mechanic, it was the NPC triggered on various events, and this guide had two different, basically had two different functions. The first one was that he will just show up and tell you something, but he doesn't force you to do some kind of actual action. He just like shows up, tells you, maybe, gives you some kind of story or clarifies a little bit what just happened, and that's it. He just disappears once you tap. The other case is that he forces you to do something. In this case, this is basically the first thing that you have to do inside the game. So you show up, he tells you something, and now we need to build the main dock. You cannot do anything else. This is really easy because in that case, not many places where the new player can get lost. So once we implemented this new guide, we ran the playtest cloud, which is basically online platform where you can test your game. It's for mobile mostly, and basically you upload your APK, basically your app there, and a couple of players based on your demographics will play the game. They will comment it out loud, and you can get a lot of insights, like if they understand it, if not, etc., etc. So we ran 5 rounds of iterations, as you can see. Round 1, 4 videos, 4 players, yeah. Round 2, 3 players. Round 3, 3 players, and we ran 5 rounds of this. Based on after every one, we implemented a couple of changes, and then we knew that yes, our tutorial is finally ready. And what we did is that we launched the game with the A/B test. A/B test is that you run 2 different versions at the same time, and what you try to achieve is that you gather data which kind of helps you to compare which version is better and which one is worse. So in our case, and basically A/B test, please run it with analytics guy because they can help you to set up this A/B test properly. Because once again, there are so many opportunities. How can you mess it up and then you can get a kind of damage to data? So these are the results basically. So no guide, with guide. I know it's kind of impossible to see the difference. So I made a couple more screenshots. So this is no guide. This is yes guide with the guide, and this is the difference. So as you can see, the guide, the tutorial I've been talking about, had really positive impact inside our game. And once again, slides are available. You can study them, and you can even send me a message. We can talk about it. But as you can see, yes, you want to have a tutorial inside your game. Here are the actual data, which kind of support this claim. Thanks to all these actions that we did before guide and with the guide, we managed during soft launch, we managed to get around like 40% day 1 retention, which was really good for us, for our type of games, or for our genre. It was really good. I know it's not like super casual games which do not have problem to achieve like day 1 retention of 60%, but in our case 40% was really good. So now we can see even the last thing. Now I'm trying to connect the guide and our first activities, and as you can see, without guide, the ships which were dispatched after purchase were 85%. And remember, before we did anything, like at the beginning of September, we had only 69%, and in February we managed to get 96%, which is amazing. So you can do, as you can see, you can do a lot of small things that can help you out to improve your first-time user experience, and please do not try to forget about it. So smacznego, thank you, and guys, if you get any questions, you can ask now, or online, or here on the conference. Thanks a lot, and enjoy the rest of the days.
Thanks, Martin. We've got a microphone, so if you want to ask some.
How long did your soft launch phase last?
Sorry?
How long did your soft launch phase last?
As far as I remember, we launched in September. So September, October, November, December, January. But once we soft launched it was out on those specific markets, so Slovak, Czech, because we live there, and then I think it was maybe Great Britain. Usually when we go you go global, well, it depends because the countries that we select are it's usually we discuss it with our marketing department. So sometimes we do the soft launch, where we just release the game on some kind of, for example, in some kind of Asian market, Southeast Asia, I don't know, Philippines, whatever, because you can get really cheap players there. I know that they are not like high quality in regards of monetization and maybe even retention. But if you're launching your game on a mobile first time, maybe you want to test your technical issues, if there are any of those happening. What are the loading times in those different countries? So first stage is usually the technical soft launch, where you try to set up the campaigns, where you try to set up the stability of your build. Once you do this, then you go for this normal soft launch, where you try to select markets which are more or less somehow representing the global scale, and then you go full once you are satisfied. But it's not like, in September that we're going for soft launch and we'll be going for global in February. If we didn't manage to improve the game to our satisfaction, we wouldn't release it. And sometimes it's the case that the game can be even in the soft launch for 1 year. It can happen, but it depends.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Hi, nice talk. Thank you. Did you guys ever try to test no tutorial version of the game to see what's the baseline of how the player play with the game with no helpful tips or tutorial?
Yeah,
to see the baseline.
Yeah, basically that's how the game looked for like 2.5 years, because we didn't have that guide in a talk, and basically what we did is that this A/B test was with no guide and with guide. But yeah, the game was originally launched and without this guide, but it was more or less kind of somehow streamlining towards some kind of specific action. So even with those data which you have here, if you want to, there is no tutorial, but if you want to send a ship, you have to build a dock. So there's not much stuff you can do before you build a dock. So even though there is no tutorial, you will have to do it eventually. But maybe what you can do here, if you don't have a guide, for example, inside the game, you can. I will use the laser because, yeah. So this is the event which says docks. So if the docks were built, which are essential for our gameplay, and what you can see here is not that if this happened, but what you could maybe compare is that when it happened, because in this case, I imagine. I don't have data, but it is my hypothesis that this happens straight away, really fast. And in this case, it could maybe even take a couple of minutes because they were trying to do something else. So you can even see the actual time when did it happen.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Hi, you mentioned that playtest cloud thing. How many players actually did test your game? How many people were playing that game?
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends. Basically, as I showed here, every single round was basically a different version of the game, which was somehow changed. And since the game was already released, it was already released in a soft launch, so the players were playing it already. We had quantitative data with those funnels and everything, but these tests which were run is that you get the playtest, you get the video of the players actually.
Yeah, I know how it works, but I wanted to ask if was it enough to actually make a product decision based on that test? I mean,
basically what we do is that usually when we have a version for the user testing, we usually run around like 5 to 6 players.
Okay.
Which basically, in terms of usability testing, 5 to 6. Let's talk about 6 players. You can identify up to like 80% of those usability issues. So, of course, it will be really nice to do the like 30 players, but let's talk about like half an hour. It's on a half-an-hour session. You get 30 players. Who the hell is going to analyze that and make a report? Because
right.
I don't know. Last week I've been doing a playtest report for the train station 2, we got only like 5 videos. Each was like half an hour. It took me like 2 days because you need to like see the videos, make annotations, then make a report, try to find identify what are the actual things that are happening there. So we try to make it like optimized in terms of time, effort, and results. And for us, it's like 5 to 6 people for one iteration.
Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to ask about the method of the testing. So if you gave players the game, or did you have some kind of scenario for them to go through, and that what you were...
This one?
Exactly this.
Yeah. Well, basically the game was prepared with the guide already in this case, and yeah, we just gave them a application. They installed the game, started playing, and that's it. They got in this case, it depends how long videos you buy. If it's like 15 minutes or 30 minutes, or how long should be the session, and you let them play, and you see what they do, and that's it basically.
And how they mark it? So they just use the stars and comments method?
Yeah. Well, basically, this is something. Here, what you can see here is their something. This is something that they do afterwards because they got some questionnaire which they can fill up. You also get to design a survey which they get after playing for that desired time, and this is it. But for example, those stars are not something that we are like trying to, you know. We are not so. We do not pay too much attention to these kind of stars because if like 5 players play and one has troubles, it's not so representative. We try to look for those actual actions inside the game because you can see that, I don't know, maybe 3 out of 5 players did not find that hand which was trying to show you that open the screen. So we're looking more on this type of actions inside those inside that videos, and we got survey. Which is usually made up from, I don't know, like 8 questions, and I think this is also a really nice place where you can get nice knowledge. I don't know, what was your most favorite part of the game? What was your least favorite part of the game? That's really maybe something will show up, or maybe you can even ask them about something which they did in a game if they understood it correctly. I don't know. How do you acquire new ships, and or what are the gems good for? Yeah, so you can ask a lot of interesting stuff there. Sometimes even like really specific, if they interact.
Thanks.
Hi, can you move to the before and after funnel slide?
Yeah, definitely. Tell me when to stop.
The one with 2 funnels on the left and the right.
With 2 funnels on. Oh yeah. So at the beginning, I guess.
Oh, at the end.
Or at the end.
The one when you improved, that much on.
Okay.
So we could see there that you improved the. Oh yeah, that's the one.
Maybe this one.
Yeah. But okay. when there are two. Oh, this one's fine as well.
This one is.
So you'll be able to improve the buying ship with significant amount, but buying the second ship, it improved very little. Like the second ship moved from 72 to 74, something like this. Don't you think it might be the case that players who would stay in the game didn't need the tutorial, and that improved tutorial only helped the players who wouldn't stay in the game anyway, long term. So it really wasn't necessary for the players who would stay, second ship and on.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that right now there is like a small problem that in the first iteration of the game, the player could buy 2 ships immediately. When there was a Santa Maria, so that was so in that case it was it could happen easily. Now I think you were not able to buy a second ship till you reach like level 3. So.
Similar things is ship to outpost, so looks like.
Well, the ship to outpost was. The ship to outpost was it is something that was not part of that guided tutorial, basically, because the guided tutorial was showing you, like, really.
Yeah, my point exactly. My hypothesis is that the tutorial didn't actually improve the day two retention that much. It only helped to those people who wouldn't get would not invest in the game. It just by hand-holding them, it helped them a little, in a first step. But those who would stay in a game, they didn't really, care. It didn't help them that much.
But it depends, because even like 2% at the stages, it's not. Well, the thing is that in some cases there are huge improvements, but especially in terms of like send chip. But since it's like a fourth step, as I said at the beginning, that if you made him to do it, he will do it, but it doesn't mean that he will understand it or he will get the motivation. So. So what kind of showed us that the players can get to the further stages of the game, and this kind of shows you that maybe they are not really maybe they're in this case they did not get to buy the second ship, and once again we could do something like let's put second ship a little bit earlier in the game if they can buy it, or we can look at it that okay, here's a huge opportunity, or maybe the ship is not that interesting for them at all, and maybe exploring could be something that we could work on, or maybe we can try to make a guide for later stages of the game. So this kind of showed us that what could be the next actions. It was not definitely something that it's done, we don't touch it anymore. So but you are right. It doesn't help, but on a large scale, if we're talking about the acquisition of 5 million players a year, like every single person counts, because
but the uplift was really those 2%, not 10 or 6. So
but if we were able to do like 10% improvements on every stage, we would be like super happy. But that's not the case. But if you're able to like improve your game, the thing is that we have a talks here and we're talking about improvements, about what went great and what was our best case study, but in this type of games, I mean, maintaining your game on the same level for 1 year and basically avoiding a decrease is something which is super difficult. Just staying on the same level, it's really, really difficult. So, and this is something that in my opinion doesn't get too much attention. But maintaining your game for like 10 years straight on the same level, that's super difficult. But everybody's trying to focus on the. Everybody's trying to focus on those like amazing, great success stories. But so for us, even like 2% is great. But could it be better? Yes, definitely yes.
All right, thanks.
Hi, thank you for a nice speech. And I have a question about those tests that you run. I got a question based on your experience. Is it worth of running those tests on if you have only 4 people playing the game? Because I know from my experience that a lot of the data between different days can be really can have really high differences between different days, even on hundreds of users. So even if they might be your target players, that the way they play may be much different, and I don't know really if it's worth of spending the time on that.
Well, it depends. I mean, in terms of like qualitative data.
No, the cloud tests that for players.
Always. I mean, doing the user research, even like doing couple interviews with your players. Well, the thing is that if you ran the test of like 5 people playtesting your game, you identified those up to like 80% of usability issues. That doesn't mean that if you run a different set of tests another day, you will identify those same problems. But the thing is that because it doesn't mean that there needs to be the huge overlap, but maybe you will be able to identify the other issues. But the thing is that sometimes even if this happens only in 2 out of 5 cases, and it's like a really like edge, edge scenario, which doesn't happen in all the time. If you can fix it easily, like why you shouldn't do it? So, but it's always about interpretation, because it's also it's a really large bit. The thing is that sometimes you can see something that you think that something is happening, but actually it's not the case. Maybe he has been distracted, so he didn't do it, stuff like that. But this is something that we did not came up with. This is something that basically the Neilman Norson group, which are like guys who are doing user researches for like decades, and they are the founders of this whole methods, and this is what they managed to find. This is what they managed to find over those couple of years, that usually 6 people, plus minus, are enough to identify up to 80% of usability issues.
Okay, thank you. And it was last question. If you would like to speak with Martin, you can do it during break. Second batch, second speaker will start at 11 o'clock. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.